Welcome back to the SimTech podcast, the podcast where we shine a light on the people, products, and the ideas supporting the clinical simulation technician community. In today's episode, I'm joined by Gordon from Scotia, and we're going to be talking about smotsSUPPORT. This is a platform designed specifically with simulation technicians in mind, focusing on support, problem solving, and sharing knowledge across the sim community. We'll be exploring what smotsSUPPORT is, why it was created, and how it can help simulation technicians in their day-to-day roles, whether that's troubleshooting equipment, accessing expertise, or feeling less isolated in what can often be a very niche role. So, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the SimTech podcast. Today we are going to be looking at another Supplier Showcase, and today we're going to be looking at smots. And to help me to do that, I brought along a special guest. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi Craig, it's Gordon McLaughlin, CEO of Scotia, Scotia UK PLC, and Smots is a brand that we're best known for.
Yeah, I'm going to have to apologise because I only know you as Smots, and I have a really hard time remembering that you actually called Scotia because all I know is Smots. So thank you for coming on today. It's great to talk and great to have Scotia/Smots back because I know we had Andrew on last time, who was my point of contact for all things Smots related, really, and it's a great help to me. It's great to have you on, and you said you've never done a podcast today, so I'm just glad to have you back for your first one ever.
Yes.
Hopefully you're not too nervous about it all.
I'm fine. So it's one of these things. And we occasionally do had odd interviews at ASPE and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Occasional rather than odd, although I'm sure people thought they were odd as well. But no, I'm quite happy to be having a chat today and a chance to talk a little about what we're doing.
And how long have you been at Scotia/Smots?
Do you really want to know? So 46 years. I had 46 years, 25 of which have been Smots, basically since about 2000. And I joined the company. Dad started the company in 63. I joined in 79 after a couple of years at university and working in a pro camera shop. And I've been there ever since in lots of iterations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if it started in 1963, there must have been some changes along the way. I mean, I can't even imagine what the AV capabilities of 1963 were.
Well, there weren't any that we were aware of at that stage. We were, Dad was working for NCR, selling banking machines, and he started the company selling the sort of Atlas or calculator type machines that turned into modern day computers. And we drifted into AV in the 70s. Very simple projection systems, overhead projectors and the like. And then up to more technology relating to computer presentations. And then into more training that you would expect that would lead into this sort of thing. We can talk about this.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Yeah.
So, am I right thinking you didn't do anything before then? I assume your dad started nurturing you at quite a young age. Did you have any before
that? I worked in. I mean, I've always been dead keen on photography and worked in a pro amateur camera shop where we sold everything from Hasselblads to little throwaway cameras, and it was a great experience. Loved it, and because I loved engineering and tech stuff at school, I went straight to university and did engineering, and hated it. Just scraped through. Did a couple of years. Loved the idea of the what you could do as an engineer, but the actual university course, I was getting it after 2 years, passed the exams, and I thought, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And Dad said, well, if you want to sell telex rolls in Glasgow, which is a tough gig, coming from Edinburgh, going to Glasgow, knocking on doors, prove yourself and just get on with it. And that's how I started working for Scotia. So nothing to do with this. Selling a German paper from West Germany it was, and knocking on doors around Glasgow in the west of Scotland, and having to prove myself against 10 other salesmen that I was the boss's son, but I was the best. And that was good training. And Glasgow was good training because Glasgow is always they'll tell you to get lost if they're not interested. Whereas Edinburgh, they'll say, "Oh, I'll have a think about it. Come back." So
Please get lost.
much more like that. So that's how it started, and then we got into things like floppy disks and things that. I mean, nobody's heard of telex now anyway, or floppy disks, or any of these things. It's all so long ago. But it moved on into computer presentation kit and hardware to get the information off very simple black or green and black screens to big screens in classrooms and lecture theatres.
Yeah. Do you ever
Um,
remember where the idea of providing AV for simulation came along? Do you remember kind of
yes,
where that sprouted from?
yeah, I'm pretty clear on that because we'd been just kitting out lecture theatres and classrooms and boardrooms and so on for a long time, and then somebody said, "Could we?" Yeah, well, it was dental schools basically, and they said, "Look, we've got a problem where we're teaching students. They've all got phantom heads, which are the little heads that they work on, and we've got a tutor, and everybody's trying to crowd around the tutor to see what they're doing, and it doesn't work very well. Can you help us?" And so that's when we got cameras in pointing at the phantom head that the tutor was working on,
Mm.
and sound and so on, projecting up onto a big screen, and then the students can sit and work on their own heads, watching what the tutor was doing on the big screen. And that was late 90s, places like the Royal London Hospital, Guy's, some of the other dental schools, many of the other dental schools ended up using what was the predecessor to SMOTS. But then the SMOTS healthcare, medical more aspect to things came in more when I got a call from somebody in Stornoway, now to Hebrides, saying, "We've got it's basically a garage next door to a lecture theatre, nothing in it. Can we put some cameras on the ceiling and relay through to the lecture theatre?" I said, "Yeah, fine. What are you going to do?" He said, "Well, we'll have paramedics in there and they'll have a collapse on the floor, or they'll be undertaking various exercises, and the people in the lecture theatre will be watching." And so, start of our involvement with Sim, and really didn't know anything about it at that stage. It was very, very early days from our point of view. A whole new,
Well, I
like,
think it
I
will
don't know
be a
how
new
long Sim's
medium.
been going on generally.
I say it's really relatively quite new for
Yeah,
most people, especially if you're not in that world. I mean,
mm,
over the last 20 years, there's been so much development, especially
yeah.
with equipment as it's moving so fast. So
Yes,
you must have been in there pretty early when it was all kind of the rage, almost a bit of a craze.
yeah. I guess we were. I guess we were right at the beginning of all the exciting stuff. And
Yeah.
then we got a call from Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen saying, "Look, we've got lots of beds in a mock ward. Can we have cameras at each one, please? And can we relay that through to other places?" And so we built big racks full of video cassette recorders, one recorder for one or a multiple of cameras, and students getting tapes and physical tapes. And that was, we were doing that for a few years until about 2005, 2006, when Oxford Brookes University approached us. Very early days. They were using John Snow, the news presenter, ex-news presenter now, but he was always well known for his coloured socks and ties, and they were using him to fundraise for this new education simulation facility, School of Healthcare in Oxford. And they said, "What can we do?" And so at that point, I got in touch with somebody I know in Edinburgh, whose wife is a doctor. He ran Indigo Vision at that stage, which was the CCTV camera company. And I said, "Look, can we do something here? Because we're doing it with cassette tapes, and it's not the easiest way. We'd like to go down a network route. Your CCTV system's great, but it doesn't do what we need. We need better quality video. We need much better quality audio. We need other things associated with that." And they said, "Yeah, let's work together," because he was interested because his wife was a medic, and it developed from there. And so the first proper SMOT system, branded as SMOTS, went into Oxford Brookes effectively in about 2008, 2009.
I mean, how big is simulation to you guys? Do you have anything as a bigger audience that you provide cameras and audio?
No, it's everything to us. and maybe that explains some of our enthusiasm in terms of supporting the whole industry. Virtually everything we do now. I mean, we stopped doing general AV about 5-6 years ago, and everything is now simulation healthcare related. Our main markets are university and NHS, some private hospitals. The army buy a fair bit from us. Odd other things, fire services, and odd other areas where you can imagine simulation, air ambulances, for example, where they generally want to do a lot of training as well. But it's all related to the same thing. Bit of live theatre work too, where people are doing real patients and they're relaying that to Electro Theatre. But, yeah.
Well, I'm relatively new into simulation as well, so I've only been really doing it. Well, I've been doing it because I was in the army before. Been doing it for 20 years before that, but I didn't know I was doing it until I joined the NHS. And so I've been using use Smots for about 5 years, and I think it's probably one of the most. I think it's safe to say one of the most popular within probably the NHS as well. Most people are talking about Smots, and I know there are other stuff out there, but when you tell me about your history, and your journey, it becomes more obvious why you've got such a good reputation within the industry, and especially with techs, because I know you guys are heavily in supporting the technician community out there. You're always sponsoring techs to go to WASPI and stuff. Um, how- do you guys make a conscious effort to keep that reputation, especially within technicians within the NHS, or is it something that just happens, naturally? If that makes sense. Sorry.
Um, it happens. We're not going out to try and make a particular reputation for ourselves. We're just absolute in the fact that the need is for sim techs to have the best way that they can have of running their day-to-day environments, and if we can provide the kit, the support. I mean, support is incredibly important. We'll come on to that, but if we can make it easier for them, that's great. But also, the simtechs are the people who drive a lot of the decisions. The fellows come and go in the simulation environment and everything else, but the simtechs are there all the time. They've got a hard job. They're not particularly highly rated within the hospital environment or university environment, although they should be. And we sort of, I suppose, there's an element of feeling that we've got their backs, and we're trying to fight that cause just to keep the pressure on to everybody else to support them. And places like ASPE, they're dead easy. I mean, ASPE is a different event when you've got all the simtechs there, and I think everybody knows we sponsored it 1 year to get a lot of simtechs there. Then we did it the second year because nothing had happened, and then we said after that we wouldn't do it anymore because it was a lot of money.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it hasn't gone unnoticed, the support that you've given technicians.
Yeah,
You know, I'm in a bit of a privileged position as well because I've been using, as I said, been using Smots for 5 years, but recently our server died, as you might be aware. So I've been very spoilt for those 5 years, and now that I'm finding myself without the luxury of Smots, I've had to do it almost the harder way. So I've been
yeah.
using OBS and some, a few cameras here and there, and it is, we take it for granted of the quality that Smots almost provides with the camera quality, the microphones, and they're able to, work. Just log on, put a password in, and everything works seamlessly rather than having to connect and make sure things are working. Because again, we've been spoiled because it it just works seamlessly in the background, and it's
Yeah,
so easy to take that stuff for granted until you find yourself without it. And
yeah,
now everything, it's almost like a backbone. And we said simulation isn't a technology; it is a technique. But if nobody can see the technique or hear the technique in the first place, it's quite challenging to do it without audio and visual. Because again, people don't know how important it is because it's just something that works in the background.
until it doesn't, and then everybody's panic stations. And I look at it like the car in the driveway that you just go out to, you get in and you drive and it works, as opposed to the kit car that you've developed, or the Ferrari, or the special car that is fantastic and wonderful experience. But unless you, as the owner of that experience, are there, you're the system champion, as it were, then it falls over. Yeah. And we see it time and time again where people, often before they come to Smots, they'll do something with OBS or something similar, and they'll realize that yes, this works really well, but it only works really well when the guy who developed it, the person who developed it, is there. Yeah. And after that, they need something more robust for the throughput of people who aren't that interested. They just want to start doing what they're doing and know that they can get a recording afterwards. Yeah, and, I mean, Smots delivers on that.
It's a great thing about Smots is that it's really simple to use, to do the basics, to log on and move some cameras around. As long as it's set up properly, it's really easy to do. It's almost like, is it fair to say, look, you don't even need to be a technician to work it, you know. Doctors and nurses could probably work it quite simply as long as everything's been set up right.
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. I go into hospitals where particularly you've got fellows coming in and they're there for 12 months and then moving on somewhere else, and they've got no idea, but actually they give me a call and say, can you come in and help us? And I go in and they're actually using it very well because there's not an awful lot of training required, which makes our life easier as well. I mean, there are other products like Session Manager and so on, which are getting into the self-service aspect of using Smots, and we can talk about that if you like. But yeah, Smots as a tool just works, and that's why we tend to do pretty well in the UK. I think we're in more hospitals than anything else.
Yeah, one of the things that I always find the most challenging is it's our IT department, and I don't know how you feel within other NHS IT departments, but you know, you must spend significant time trying to convince them, talk to them, telling them it's safe, telling them it's trusted, that kind of stuff. Am I right thinking that?
Yes, you are. And they're all the same, particularly since the pandemic, because the load on IT departments escalated through the roof with everybody being in situations where they were working from home or having to, get used to Teams. And that's had benefits because now everybody just hops on Teams calls all the time without any worries at all. And some visits that we would have had to do in the past have just been done on Teams now, and sales have been done on Teams. So things have improved in some ways, but IT departments have had to work pretty hard to cope with all of that. And we find that we get in and get on well with IT departments because we make a point of, we don't only do Cyber Essentials, but we do Cyber Essentials Plus, which is where basically the baddies try to get into your network and break things. And there's been plenty on the news about people like Marks and Spencer's and Jaguar and various other people who've had hacks into their system. And so it takes all the Cyber Essential standards, but then adds in the Plus, which is where they basically try and trick our systems to break into them. And we renew that every year. So it's a lot of work to get it renewed. But I think that gives us some degree of respect when we're talking to IT departments, because they know we're on the same side. They know we understand what they're going through. And sometimes we'll get in fact, we've had a couple in the last few days about odd potential backdoors that the scanning systems have picked up. And they tend to appear where firmware hasn't been updated, or whether there's a new release to accommodate some. I mean, they're developing all the time to accommodate things that some clever guy in a dark room is trying to create routes for viruses and so on. So we get those occurrences arise from time to time, but we deal with them. So we release a patch. So we then fix the issue, and that's another gate locked, as it were, to stop things happening. And that's where I think we do very well. A lot of companies just shy away from the whole IT department conversation, and a lot of the mannequin manufacturers will just say, no, it's off network, it's on a private network, and they don't try to put it on the NHS network. Whereas we pretty consistently always put it on the NHS network and make it work. And it does, but it takes longer than it ever did, just in terms of the available time that IT departments have.
Yeah, well, you're right, 'cause, they've got to prioritize that kind of the risk, haven't they? And to make sure it's all completely safe. But it just makes them I feel like that it makes them very nervous when you say, "Look, we're gonna set up some cameras and we're gonna stream."
Yeah, they hate it.
They don't even understand what a simulation center is most of the time. They just
Yeah,
think, "You're putting cameras, what, on the ward? Where are these
yeah,
cameras going? You're gonna have patients?" I'm like, "Come on, we work in the simulation center." But they're
yeah.
just because they're not used to the world that we're in, because they're completely separate out then, so all
Yeah.
their flags go up.
I mean, we also see it where they're very used to dealing with really intelligent people who are quite happy to lift the lid on things and twist a few wires to make it work. And generally, they're doing that with human beings in operating theatres and so on. And so they're very nervous about people coming along and saying, "Yeah, we can do this. Please, can we just do that? We've bought it already. Can you just make it work?" And so they get a bit hacked off about the fact that it's been purchased already and they haven't been involved in that decision. And then they're even more hacked off when somebody who they think doesn't understand IT is saying, "Oh, yeah, we can just do this, can't we?" And so at that stage, we always say, look, whenever there's a discussion involving any of our kit, get IT involved as early as possible. And you'll find out your friends when you actually give them the privilege of getting involved rather than just giving them a sort of fait accompli where it's all finished before they even get a chance to look at it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've brought you here to talk about the support package that has recently been launched.
Yeah.
For the people that might not have heard of it or seen anything, do you want to tell them what it is?
Okay. So smotsSUPPORT, which is what it's called, we launched middle of December, so just before Christmas. Maybe not the best of time to launch any new product, but 17th of December we started mailing people about it. It's to deal with a situation that we're becoming more and more aware of, and that is that um, your simulation centres, your universities, not only they're worried about their jobs in many cases, but they are worried about just funds for expansion or new systems. And in general, at the moment, certainly in the environment we're in, they're not getting the money to buy anything new. And they're barely getting the money to replace anything or repair anything if it's been broken. And that's a real concern. And we're regularly asked, well, how long would you expect a smart system to last, and what's the sort of situation there? And we tell people, you can get 10 to 15 years from smart systems, and we have customers out there using them for that length of
Yeah,
time.
I'm one. I think we're on 10 years, and
Yeah,
cameras are still going fine. We still have the old cameras. Obviously,
yeah,
server died recently, but then I just did found out that it hasn't been turned off for 10 years. So
right, okay.
apparently
And
they
that
don't think they're going to die.
Yeah, and I mean that server was running Windows 7, so it was irreplaceable literally because nobody's going to support it. So you needed new kit. That led to other situations, but the point is that whenever we sell smots, we sell it with a 3-year fully inclusive warranty. So that's on site, telephone, email support, 24/7 basically. If you call us on a Friday night or a Sunday morning, you'll get support, and that happens occasionally, not too often. But after the 3 years, we then had a product called Smots Online, which for £1,000 a year gave you all the software support, which is important. That keeps you up to date for your IT department to be happy with your cyber essentials ratings and everything else. Free training as well. So all the soft services, but not visits to site and not hardware replacement or repair. And there was a gap there. And as you know, SMOTS is generally pretty reliable, so not a major issue for many people. But we thought there's an opportunity here to answer some of the questions that were being asked for some sort of maintenance schedule, and that was to give a fixed price package, which is £4,150, which with that also nips under the £5,000 level that a lot of people will find resistance once they get beyond that. And that includes pretty much everything for the site. And at that point, when we say the site, we mean the site. We're not talking about, everything that Smots has supplied within that site. So you've got your 5-10-year-old cameras. You've got your push-to-talk mic that you bought from us 7 years ago. You've got a pair of headsets that, we supplied a few of. There's very few exceptions, and basically for that cost, we will repair or replace the kit when it breaks on site, and there's no extra cost. So I'll tell you about the exceptions in a moment, but in essence, it gives you small or large sites. So the ability to just have a fixed cost, right? Okay, we can budget for that for the next 12 months, put that through now, get the funds for that, and we're sorted as far as SMOTS is concerned. And so it's to make everybody's life easier and give some level of insurance, if you like, in terms of support on an ongoing basis. And that includes the £1,000 online software, the training, all the other aspects. The SMOT support is all encompassing. So your 4150 just gives you everything you get with a brand new system.
All right. So to bottom line it, that £4,000 pretty much gives you, apart from the ones that we'll go on to in a second, universal cover and almost a guarantee that whatever breaks, Smots will cover it and fix it or replace it if it's broken.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's a brilliant idea. What are the exceptions then that are not covered within the 4,000?
Okay, so you would expect in the modern world that there's a ton of exceptions, and there's really not that many.
Well, we're waiting to hear the catch because at the moment
Yeah,
it sounds pretty good.
I know. So exceptions, what we call technology walls, and by technology walls I mean something like a Windows 7 device, which is X years old, and that device is not capable of being upgraded to Windows 10 or 11. It's just hit that wall. Some of the earlier cameras it hasn't really happened yet, but there will come a point at which there is no firmware update for a 12-year-old camera, and that is on the network, and the Cyber Essentials team will be saying, hang on, we've done a scan, and that's coming up as having a back door, as it were. Can we get a firmware update? And we'll say, no, it's 12-year-old, can't do it. So that is dead. So that's not covered. So where something has just, your old Ford Sierra sitting in the dryer for 20 years, it's reached the end of life. That's not covered. What else? Really, that's the extent of it. So technology walls, which would be things that we can no longer support, and obvious devices, things like Windows 7, old devices. What else? Fair wear and tear. We've put that comment on the end of the terms and conditions. It's fair use as expected. We won't cover things that were obviously faulty when you started the contract with us. It's not a new for old policy, so it will be a replacement. If you've got a standard definition camera, we will actually see if we've got another one on the shelf and replace it for you. Same with the high definition camera, which is no longer produced. We do keep stocks going back some time, so we will replace if we can, and we'll try and help you fix it if we can. But if it's reached that complete end of life situation, we'll then be able to supply you a new product, but removing the labor costs. So we'll just charge you parts to go from HD to 4K, for example. We'll do everything we can do, but you'll be charged for the hardware cost and not the rest of it.
Yeah, I think I wrote down upgrades because that was the first thing that I kind of came up. Because maybe people have got old equipment, and I was like, if that breaks, so you're just saying you maybe have to pay the difference between the two cameras.
If something's broken and you want to upgrade, then you'd pay the hardware difference. Obviously, if it's not broken and you just want upgrades, then none of this applies, and you're just talking normal SMOTS pricing for the new system. But where something's broken, we will do your best at minimal cost to get you something working, either straight replacement at no cost or the nearest appropriate level at minimal cost.
What about if someone's got something broken now and would prefer to come onto the package rather than pay for replacement? Would that be an option?
If somebody's got something broken now, they need to pay to get it fixed, and then get onto the package. So we would then come out and or online estimate the cost to fix, get it fixed, and then it can be included as well going forward.
Okay. And if people want to start now after listening to this, what's the best way to go ahead and do something like this?
Drop us a line to support@smots.org, which is the global email address for everything to do with smots, and I think everybody knows it by now, but support@smots.org, and just say, interested in smots support package, can you send us some details? And as per the information I sent you, just to have a look at, they'll get that with all the details. And we would then ask them for a purchase order, and we would then get online and check just exactly that all their system is live as they expect and they hope so. And if there are any grey areas, then we would clarify those with them at that time.
And if something breaks during smart support, how long do you think the turnaround is from getting things repaired? Obviously, it's quite a hard question, but I mean, how is are you busy? Is it quite quick?
Yeah, we're always busy, but we're never too busy, I suppose, is the answer. So we will normally advance replace if we can. If it's a repair, then we'll have to come to site. We try and do that within a few days. It depends on the situation. I mean, we say in an emergency we'll come within 24 hours and we'll be there. You'll get support. A lot of things can be solved online, and you'll get that immediately within an hour or so of reporting fault. And we're very, I mean, I talk about fair use, but it sort of works both ways. I think our market, our customers understand that they do get fair treatment from SMOTS in terms of support. We've got a very good reputation, which we really value in terms of just quick support and quick fixes to things. And we get as frustrated as anybody else where there are, I mean, you had your problem with the replacement server, it was put down to hard drives and released from the States, and whatever the reasons, we've now got them coming into stock, as we told you this week. But generally, in an emergency situation, there we would replace with something else suitable or find a way around. And for yourselves, we worked to just go live only, I think, at the moment, but we'll hopefully be able to get that sorted this week. But we've also bought a load of hard drives, so we've got spare hard drives so that we can just swap out where necessary. Because quite often on a recorder, that's the only thing that's going to fail. But if, by the way, a server failed or a PC that we supplied failed, that's included within all of this as well. So you're talking about things that could cost quite a few £1,000s and many, many more £1,000 than the annual maintenance charge. So there will be occasions where you'll be very glad that you have it. There will be other occasions where, as SMOTS is generally reliable, you've gone a year and you've not had to make use of it at all. But you have had the software support within that. So you've got the session manager capability, the ability to use that. You've got the upgrades on SMOTS. You've got firmware upgrades as well.
Yeah, I mean, trying to put my my purse string holder head on. And it's a little bit of risk over reward kind of thing, and it's like most of the time you're fine, and you don't need any kind of support, and you, as you say, Smots works perfectly fine. But if I essentially had this support package, would my server have been covered within the support package? And because I think the server itself for me probably cost the same as probably what a year of the support probably would have cost. Would that have been
Yeah.
covered?
Um, if I'm not wrong, you were on a Windows 7 device, which is dead, and no, it wouldn't have been covered. There was been no cover for that. The replacement unit, we would have been able to just charge you hardware and no other labour element in that. So you might have saved a little bit of money there, or you would have. But the hardware itself, that's a perfect example. Windows 7, yeah, it's only heading in one direction, and that's the skip at the back door, I think.
Yeah, I think they said it was running on a floppy disk pretty much.
I think we're Scottish, but yeah, you've had your money's worth. I think it's possibly also the response to that.
You know, we didn't even know where it was kept. It was that old. We had
Yeah,
to try to go over to IT, and it was kept in some server room. We didn't even know.
yeah. Probably need a vacuum cleaner as
Yeah,
well to
eight
get some
by
of
the
the
book.
dust off it.
They've never been touched. Um, uh, all right, Gordon. Well, thank you for coming today. I think the product's it's going to do very well because it gives people that reassurance, doesn't it, of keeping people covered in what's kind of a little bit of a hardship for the NHS. I don't know if you've probably picked up on it a little bit that there's not that much money going around within the trusts anymore for especially capital costs is really difficult.
Yes. And part of this is being very aware of the fact that there will be maintenance budgets, but there will be less and less money in capital budgets. And it's in a hell of a mess at the moment. And, both the NHS and universities and a lot of people that we talk to, they're more worried about whether they've got a job next week than anything else. So, yeah, anything that we can do to get involved and try to at least make things more predictable, which is about all we can do, we are doing and continue to do.
Where can people see you this year? Are you going to any conferences, anything like that?
We'll be at ASPE. We were talking about CISAM, which is in Lyon this summer in France. Do very little in France, and we do bits around Europe. We've just got a substantial six-figure contract in Canada. We do quite a lot in the Middle East, but the UK is our main market. So while ASPE is the main one, any regional events where you'd like us to turn up with our kit and just have a presence, we're more than happy to get involved with, and would welcome as much exposure in that respect as we can get.
Yeah, Brill. I know I think the technicians are talking about having one in Manchester this year. So I don't know if they've reached out to you, but I know it's still early planning, and I'm pretty sure Matt will be in touch if that's the case.
Yeah, no, we'd love to get involved in those sort of things, and it's any opportunities that arise, that'd be great.
Well, brilliant. Thank you very much, Gordon. Anything to add before we sign off?
No, we're just doing what we always do, and we continue to try to improve, and hopefully we get it right more than we get it wrong. So support Simtex is our main message. I mean, I posted something on LinkedIn yesterday about Sim and Skills and their annual event, and credit to them for stepping in where we sort of stopped after the ASPE thing. They've just carried on with their event, which is great and free to the Simtex. So anybody who can sign up to that, then they should do, and we'll continue to do what we can.
Yeah, I mean, your support hasn't gone unnoticed. We're very aware. Almost butchering those techs up. You must know that we have a lot of influence here, but we're very thankful, because a lot of people, especially techs, struggle to get to ASPE. But over the last few years, I've seen the numbers increasing with people getting access to these conferences, and it's from you guys, almost getting us hooked. I think that's what it is. You get us free tickets, and then we
giving you a mug. Those went down. Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, mine stays. I don't even like using it anymore because it looks so beautiful. It makes me a beautiful ornament in my backdrop.
Yeah. There's a few still kicking around. Just keep that in mind. And the multi tools, they went down as well. I mean, we've got smart stuff all over the place, but we've always tried to do things that would be useful to a tech. Basically, that's where that's come from.
All right, Gordon. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's been brilliant talking to you.
Good to talk to you. Thanks, Craig.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of the SimTech podcast. A huge thank you to Gordon from Scotia for taking the time and talking to me about smotsSUPPORT, and for sharing the thinking behind it and how it's aiming to support simulation technicians across the community. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing and leaving a review or getting in touch to let us know what you think. As always, if you're a SimTech educator, supplier, or innovator with a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on the SimTech Pod.